last weekend I listened to a podcast, Surviving Vehmgericht. It was titled The Occult War, and Didymus Sumidid was his guest. I think it was episode 53 in Pat's series. It's a very interesting stream. I'll put a link to it in the description box below. But in this show, they were talking about secret societies, mainly Freemasonry. Myself, I don't pretend to be any sort of expert on Freemasonry. I don't like it. But, you know, if you look at, American history, there are some influential and positive historical figures who turned out to be Freemasons. My favorite president here in the United States, Andrew Jackson, turns out he was a Freemason. So was Davy Crockett, Sam Houston, Jim Bowie, guy that made the Bowie knife. Jesse James, I believe, was also a Freemason. But see, it's a subject that's kind of shrouded in mystery. And I like how they mentioned, I believe Didymus said that Freemasonry sometimes can be used as a sort of red herring, you know, to distract people from searching into more productive things, I guess you could say. It was a very interesting show. But later in the stream, I heard Pat mention that there was a secret society that was in Germany, mainly Westphalia, however you pronounce it, called the Holy Vehm, or the Vehmgericht. And this piqued my interest because I had never heard of this secret society. So let me take a seat here and we'll speak a little more about this group. As I said, I'd never heard of the Holy Vehm before. And they're quite the interesting secret society. They were, like I said, founded, I believe, in the 13th century. And they were most active in the 14th, 15th, and then the activity tails off in the 16th century. And I believe it was Jerome Bonaparte. His last name was Bonaparte. I could be incorrect about his first name, but he formally abolished this secret society in Germany, I believe, in 1811. Could be wrong. But yeah, I was inspired to look further into this group because they were a secret society that did some very positive things at their inception. You see, during, I guess, from perhaps the 11th, 12th, 13th centuries on up into the 14th, the region of Westphalia was a very lawless region, mainly between the Rhine and the Weser rivers. They were plagued by roving groups of marauders, outlaws, thieves, criminals, highwaymen, I guess you could say. It was a very lawless region. And the state had very little power in Westphalia to combat these groups of outlaws. So it was decided that they would start a secret society. Any purebred German man of good reputation was permitted to join the Holy Vehm. And they were a vigilante group. a group of vigilantes who would fight against and kill these roving groups of outlaws and murderers, criminals. And they were very effective, and they were started as a secret society in order to protect the identities of the members. During the initiation ritual, like I said, any purebred German of good reputation was permitted to join. And during the initiation, see, they had several rankings. The lower level members were called the Schoffen, I believe, and above them were the Freischaffen. I could be butchering how you pronounce these, of course. The Freischaffen were deputy judges, and each group was led by a Stolherren, which was the chief judge, and the president of the entire secret society was called the Freigraf, or free count, you could say. It was a position that the Freischaffen and the Stolherren would vote on, and it was a position for life. And like I said, they were vigilantes, and they were ruthlessly effective the first 100, perhaps 200 years that they existed. They worked very hard to rid Westphalia of these more, these criminal elements. They were very effective. During the initiation ritual, they would take the initiate out in the woods during the night, and he would be given this, he would take an oath. And in this oath, if he broke his oath, he would be required to kill himself and his entire family. It was a sort of, I guess you could call it a primitive form of the Code of Omerta, that the Sicilian Italian mafia practiced. And after they had taken their oath, they were given these secret symbols, secret knowledge, I guess, of ways that if they were out in public that they could potentially identify themselves to a person they did not know, who was also a member of the Holy Vehm. After they had sworn their oath of secrecy, been given the secret symbols, the Freischaffen would take a dagger, small sword, and run it ever so delicately across the initiate's neck. Usually just like you could say it was a little paper cut to draw a few drops of blood as a reminder that this was the fate of the initiate if he decided to betray the Holy Vehm and its secrets. And there was upward mobility. The Schoffen could, through courageous actions, good performance, he could be, promoted to Freischaffen. And like I said, this group was ruthlessly effective. And I think at the height of its power, there was anywhere between possibly 100 to 200,000 members all across Westphalia and the neighboring regions of what is today Germany. So it got kind of popular. It was kind of a quasi-secret society once they had built up a reputation for themselves. Several years after these secret societies was started, they enjoyed the blessing, I guess you could say, of the Holy Roman Emperors and the Church. But of course, as with any secret society, as the Holy Vehm, rid Westphalia and the neighboring regions of these threats posed by these criminals, these highwaymen, they turned to focus. They were a Christian group, after all. They were to uphold the Ten Commandments, to fight against heresy as well. And as they tamed these regions, from these criminal threats, they started to focus more on the native population. They fought against heresy, and honestly, the power began to be abused, you could say. This is a tendency, I believe, with secret societies. Unfortunately, the power began to be abused. See, they would have these secret tribunals, and say there was someone that they had suspected of committing heresy, paganism, all these other activities that the church held as heresy. They would summons them. They would nail a summons to their door, and they would give the accused a period of, I think it was 6 weeks and 3 days to show up for the tribunal. And there was also these secret courts that were developed, and these were where the executions usually took place. They would, usually at midnight, they would take the accused to a grove out in the woods, and they would try them. And usually the trials, they were just, it was basically a show trial, you could say. Almost every accused person who attended one of these tribunals, they were going to be executed. They would hold them, like I said, at midnight, and there was, a lot of fear and, terror. Like I said, the Holy Vehm, at first they were, possibly the first couple of centuries or so, they were highly respected and admired. But like I said, after they purged Westphalia of a lot of the criminals that were plaguing them, power corrupted, and they started doing this against, it was not only, it was very safe to say, I guess you could put it, that not only were a lot of the guilty executed at these tribunals, but they were probably some innocent people as well. It's pretty safe to say that, I believe. But like I said, over time, the church renounced them, and I believe that Bonaparte character in 1811, he formally abolished the group. However, it is said that to this day there is a group called the Holy Vehm in Germany. During World War II, they had a resurgence, I guess you could say, and they worked with the National Socialists in order to purge Germany of some of its more criminal elements, I guess you could say. And I read an interesting article. I'll put a link to it in the description box below as well. A guy who I believe in the 1980s, 1990s actually came into contact, an Englishman who came into contact with some self-professed members of the Holy Vehm. I would recommend reading that article because it's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's true, but it's worth reading, I believe. So how does all these secret societies, well, mainly the Holy Vehm is the one I'm focusing on here, how does that tie into our future here in the United States, here in America? I've heard Pat mention this often, and it's his prediction, I guess you could say, for the future of America, of America, in which we currently live. And I believe he's correct in his assessment, in his prediction, because, now, like I said, none of us can predict the future, but I agree with what he says. You see, over the last decades, several decades, at least since 1965, but it's really escalated the last 2 decades. As far as the demographic and racial makeup of the United States, Pat says that he believes our future is going to resemble Brazil or Latin America. And given the current trajectory of things, I believe that he is correct. Now, of course, there could be some event that happens, perhaps, a large-scale civil war here in the United States, a large economic collapse, who knows, But given the current trajectory, I think he's correct. They're letting all of these refugees in through our southern border. You know, it's just absolutely porous. Our government aids and abets these invaders. And what we're going to see is a decline, which we're already witnessing it. I've spoke often about it. There's a lot of other people speaking about it as well. Sometimes I wonder, though, you know, I've heard a lot of our guys talk about, you know, the collapse is imminent, it's near. And while I think, you know, would be, you know, a great opportunity, it could be, you know, it would be a very destructive, very hectic, and it could be a very rough time, to put it bluntly, a very brutal time. But sometimes I have thought too, you know, civilization is more resilient, I think, than some people give it credit for being. This system is not just going to collapse and disappear, unfortunately. So I think, you know, given the current trajectory, the decline will be gradual. I mean, after all, look at the Roman Empire. It took centuries for it to collapse. But given the current trajectory, I think Pat's assessment is correct, that the future of the United States is what is going on currently in Latin America. The decline, you know, the administrative capability of the government itself, all these things, you know, we're going to witness a decline. I don't know how quick or how precipitous it will be. But over this time, I don't know if we'll experience any sort of balkanization between the states, but I think that there will be a sort of racial balkanization. There will be some white groups. I mean, we are a declining majority. U.S. Census information for the year 2020 shows this, and I think it's going to continue unless, I said, you know, some unforeseen event takes place. We're going to be further mixed, at least a portion of our people will be the idiots, you could say, the unenlightened. Nature will take care of the stupidity, you could say. There will be some white areas that will, you know, retain their racial makeup. And, you know, there's this huge debate, of course, I've spoke about it, others have as well, you know, about public-facing groups for our guys, groups like, I guess, you know, Patriot Front or NJP, all those guys. There's this debate between them and, you know, or whether to do more clandestine sort of activities. Myself, I'm not a member of any formal organization. I don't see myself joining any formal organization, at least in the immediate future. Like I said, I'm more inclined to the informal groups. You know, since I have this channel here, I have met several guys across the country. You know, this channel is, you know, it's kind of given me a platform, I guess you could say, to meet such people in an informal fashion, you know. And I'm not railing against any of these more prominent public-facing groups. I believe all of us, we all have a role in this sort of struggle, in this decline, you could say. In the struggle against the decline, is how I should put it. We all have a part to play, I believe. Political activism and all that, it certainly has a place. But like I said, for myself, I'm more inclined to these informal groups, you know, perhaps building a small tribe. And I'm very interested in the Holy Vehm. That's why I'm speaking about them. You know, this sort of secret society could be implemented as a way to counteract in the future, a way to counteract what's probably going to happen here in the United States. More lawlessness, more ineptitude of, you know, state power, I guess you could say. That's what we're going to see, you know, the increased diversity of everything. It's going to, increased diversity, like I've said before, leads to increased ineptitude and ineffectiveness. And there will be opportunities during this. I think a secret society like the Holy Vehm, you know, we could learn something from it, and here in the future, you know, nowadays it's kind of hard to, I would imagine, get anything off the ground, or perhaps there is some sort of secret society that has our interests at heart that, you know, I don't know about. And if there is, well, they're working effectively because they're secret, I guess you could say. But here in the future, we could learn from this, I believe. You know, whenever there's these increased lawlessness, you know, it could be perhaps a mirrored image of what was going on in Westphalia during the 12th and 13th and 14th centuries. And we would need a secret group to resist and execute vigilante justice. I mean, after all, vigilante justice, in my opinion, is the most effective form of justice. You see, the Holy Vehm, they acquired a sort of fearsome reputation as they were so effective at destroying these networks of outlaws. And a big part of that was their secret nature. So yeah, I think it's something to consider, something to think about, a sort of form of white omerta, you could say. Because, I mean, after all, you know, we are discriminated against. And just like the Italians, the Sicilians who came here in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you know, they had the mafia, they had their form of omerta, and perhaps we could use some form of omerta for ourselves in the future. But anyways, this video's long enough. I'd recommend looking into these, into this group, the Holy Vehm, for yourself. It's pretty interesting, and like I said, I had never heard of this secret society. And of course, I think we all should bear in mind too, you know, that secret societies, we see it with, you know, Freemasonry and such, they can be subverted. Hopefully, when the time comes, there will be, what would I say, procedures in place to, you know, hopefully prevent something. But it's just some food for thought. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.